Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jacqueline Lopez. I have two home decor DIYs to share with you today. They are both perfectly neutral. They go well with year-round decor or for spring, which is the season that is coming up for us. So first, before we get into it, I do want to remind you to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell so that you are notified every time that I post a new video. Like, comment, and share my video. That really helps my channel to grow. And let's just go ahead and get into these two beautiful and inexpensive DIYs. For our first DIY, you are going to need some extra large wood beads, jute twine, some stain of your choice, and of course some scissors. Now I'm going to start by opening up my wood bead packs. I did get these from Hobby Lobby. They do not have any measurements on them. I just got the biggest they had when they were 50% off. Choose a stain that you want your wood beads to be in. I mistakenly chose this white one at first. As you can see, even with the lighting, you can't see any changes to it because it is that light. The change is very minimal, so I did go back and choose a darker stain. I chose this gel stain in Early American, I think it is. Of course, always mix your stain. I didn't do it at first, and you're gonna see here when I first start to stain it how it is very light. You're also going to notice that I am using a sock to stain. I always use any scrap piece of fabric that I have, but I highly recommend this kind of sock technique where you put your hand inside of it. I use the fingertip part of it so that I can stain, and then I use the part that's on my palm to remove any excess. So I am going to go ahead and stain every single one of them. This is a gel stain, so all I end up doing is one coat of it. And of course, let them fully dry before moving on to the next step. I went ahead and did the rest of them, and now I'm going to do a second coat, and this time it's going to be in the white stain. So this is what's going to give them kind of that washed out look. So I'm going to do the same thing, use the fingertip portion of my sock to stain, and then use the palm to remove any excess. I'm going to do that to all of them, and I actually end up doing 2 coats, and I'm letting them dry completely in between each one. Here is the next day, and they are fully dry. I love this light washed out color that they are, and now it's time to start beading them. I'm going to be using this white jute. It is thicker. I don't recommend using the Dollar Tree one because it's really thin. Now the ends here, it kind of spreads out, so I'm going to create an aglet on it by just wrapping around some tape. I highly recommend that you do this because the inside of the wood bead is unfinished, so sometimes it stops your thread from going through. So this just makes it easy. I'm going to do a pattern of small bead, large bead, small bead, ending both ends with a small bead. Now it's time to finish off the edges. Of course, you can just make a simple loop, but I was toying around with the idea of maybe having tassels at the end. I wanted to see what that looked like, so I took another one of my garlands that had a white tassel, and I preferred the more subtle look of not having anything on the ends, but at least this way you also get to see if that's what you want to do. If you want a tassel tutorial, I do have several wood bead garland tutorials here, and a lot of them have that as part of them. So all I'm going to do is do a very basic loops on both ends, and then once I make every single one of them, I'm going to do a double knot to make sure that it doesn't go through. And just to make it extra secure, you're going to see that coming up, I am going to be adding some hot glue just so that it doesn't move around. I want to make sure that it's very secure. Now, in hindsight of making this DIY project, I would have preferred it to be much longer. I bought all the beads that Hobby Lobby had, and I want to go back so that I can make a second one that is much longer, and that one I'm probably going to stain in ebony or charcoal. So stay tuned for my Instagram where I'll probably do that. For a second DIY, you are going to be needing some moss of your choice. Here are some options. I'm also going to be using a dry floral foam block, any bowl, and of course some scissors and some hot glue. Now I am going to show you these that are from Dollar Tree. I love this new little bag because it has different moss in it and then some other little fillers. This is my absolute favorite moss. It's reindeer moss, and I did find this moss sheet will come in handy if you plan to do this DIY with only Dollar Tree moss. Now this is a moss that I'm going to end up using. This is a mossy mat that I got from Hobby Lobby. It's easy to cut, it's peel and stick. It has beautiful texture and color to it, so that's why this is my first choice. But of course you can mix all of these. Now this is a thrifted bowl and I want to give it a little bit of a makeover since it is dirty, so I am going to be using some white chalk paint. Of course you can use acrylic paint. I wanted to show this here because this chalk paint is kind of dry. I just added some water, mixed it, and now it's back to normal. I just added a very small amount. I am going to be using the dry brush technique, so I'm using this chalk paint brush, adding some white paint and removing almost all of it just so that I can dry brush some of the paint onto my bowl. So I am not giving it full coverage. It has kind of more of this aged, kind of distressed white color on it. Now I wanted to give this bowl a DIY because a makeover. It was dirty. I tried soaking it and it just had like these oil stains, and I wasn't going to be using it as an actual bowl since it didn't look as good as I wanted it. So why not repurpose them into a cute little moss bowl, and I am going to be making a total of 2 of them. Now with this technique, you don't need any drying time since it is a dry brush technique. It's pretty much dry immediately. I do suggest that you paint the bottom and a little bit of the inside just so that it looks all around and finished. No need to paint the inside though, since that's going to be covered by the moss. Now that I am done, I am going to go over all of it just to make sure that there aren't any harsh spots or spots where I didn't get any paint on, and of course go back over it with my brush. And I'm going to be doing a second bowl. Now I'm going to take half of this block and I'm going to glue it to the inside of my bowl just so that I have something for my moss to stick on to. Now I'm going to give you some suggestions if you are going to be using just Dollar Tree materials. Take a circle of this sheet and then you're going to build texture and dimension with the other moss. Now that's why I fell in love with this mossy sheet or mossy mat, because it already has all of the texture and dimension that I need, and I like this really light green color for the springtime. So all I'm going to do is trace a circle the size of my bowl, and I did end up tracing from the outside, and it probably needs to be smaller since I don't want it to come out of the edges. I want it to look as if it was inside. This is actually very easy to cut. I'm making it look much harder than it is because I chose to work with these really small scissors. So I do again end up having to trim it down to size once I go in and I see that it kind of fits too big. So all I'm going to do is trim some of the edges, and this is probably what I should have also done at the beginning, is once I'm cutting, I am pulling back some of the paper from the moss so that it doesn't look like a perfect circle. In nature it won't look that way, so I push back some of the moss so that some of it will come over to the top and sides of the bowl. So again, that's all I'm doing here, is just trimming it to a better, smaller size. As you can see here, halfway, because this is kind of out of frame, I'm sorry. I am also going to be filling up some of the edges with some paper because I want it to stick really nice and flat in there. I don't want it to be too sunken in at the sides. If you are using the Dollar Tree one, you probably won't need to do a lot of that since you are going to build up into it. Now again, this part I made it seem harder than it was, but it's actually really easy to peel off, and let me tell you, This glue is super sticky. It got stuck to my fingers. It got all over my scissors. All I had to do is do some Goo Gone and it was clean, but still very, very sticky. You probably also want to make sure that you're able to stick it on to the sides and all of it has something to stick onto. Here, as you can see, these are the areas that I left some of the moss stick to the side. So this is what I peeled off of the paper. I'm just adding a little bit of hot glue so that it stays in place. Now I'm going to take some of this Dollar Tree moss. I'm going to take some from this variety pack because it comes with this light brown reindeer moss and a little wooden accent. I'm just going to add them on top. I'm not going to glue them. I'm just going to add them as if it was part of it. So just making it work with the moss that already comes with the mat. Here it is completed. Of course, all of these little things on top are optional. You can leave it with just the mossy mat, and of course you can do this with all Dollar Tree materials. I am going to be doing that over on my Instagram, so make sure that you are following me over there. I do a lot of different DIYs over there, or variations of the same DIYs that I do here, just so that you have different options. Now also, the styling that I have here on my table is very simple, but I wanted to make sure to show them to you in kind of a quick styling on my table where they are going to be used. It's just going to look a little bit different. Now, I hope that you enjoyed both of these DIYs. Let me know if you plan to recreate them. Follow me over on Instagram, tag me when you do, share them with me in my email. I do have some people that I communicate with in my email, and I love that. All of that is available down below. Thank you again for taking time to watch this video. Subscribe if you haven't already. Leave me a comment and share with family and friends. Thank you, and you have a very good rest of your day. Bye-bye.